just did.
140 and 308. Why am I saying the very two most random numbers you're probably thinking of? Well, they are not that random. Trust me. 140 days, that is the last time Max Verstappen did not win a race at Azerbaijan back in April. 308 is the last time a non-Red Bull driver won, when it was George Russell at Brazil. Today, though, the streak is over. Red Bull did not win. Max Verstappen did not win. They are wearing this hat today. So the question is, who ended that win streak? Was it 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton? Was it 2-time champion Fernando Alonso? Was it Charles Leclerc? No, it was Carlos Sainz, who drove, honestly, a perfect race. It was a thrilling battle for the win there at the end. You had Sainz and Norris within just a couple of seconds the entire last stint of that race. But then there was a virtual safety car with about 20 laps to go, and both Mercedes cars pitted for fresh medium tires, whereas Sainz and Norris, at the end of the race, they would end up being on more than 30-lap old hard tires. So Norris, Sainz, old tires, and now you got Russell and Hamilton on fresher tires, but they have to get through a few people. I think they had to get through Leclerc, and then they eventually would get to the lead pair. They might have had to get through one or two other cars, but for the most part, Leclerc was the biggest challenge, and he only held them up for about half a lap. His tires were too old, but it ended up helping a little bit, I guess. So now you have this game of cat and mouse. It's about 10 laps to go, a little bit under, when Russell and Hamilton both get past Leclerc. And Sainz is about 1.5 seconds ahead of Norris, so Norris doesn't quite have that DRS yet, but Sainz, isn't exactly pulling away. Well, then the two Mercedes catch up to the front pair, and this is where Sainz is a certified genius. Sainz, usually you want to have the biggest lead you can have, right? You want to pull away, gap the field, do whatever you can. But Sainz knew that he couldn't push his tires too much and wear them out because, one, he had older tires, and two, because then, if he wears them out too much, he's not even going to finish on the podium. And then also, if he pulls away too far, the Mercedes are going to blow by Lando Norris, and they're going to, with those fresher tires, easily catch up to Sainz and probably easily pass him. So Sainz geniusly backs up into Lando Norris, allows Norris to get within the DRS of Sainz, so that Norris on the straights, when you have DRS, has that extra speed boost, just a little bit extra speed, so it makes it more difficult for Mercedes to pass him. And guess what? Mercedes never passed Lando Norris. In fact, I'm sorry for laughing, but George Russell just completely wrecked himself on the last lap. Russell looked like he was set up for the win here. They had the fresher tires. They had the track position. They were there. He had one opportunity at Lando Norris. It was the new straightaway after I really don't know what turn it is. Let's call it 13, somewhere in there. They make the hard right turn, and then they go into a little bit of a kink, but then it's a straight now. There used to be like a chicane that went around, but now it's a straight, but there's no DRS on that straight. Well, George Russell was able to pull alongside Lando Norris, but then Norris somehow just had a little bit extra speed coming out of the corner, was able to clear Russell, so Russell couldn't pass him. And Norris was able to hold him off for a couple extra corners. That probably hurt Russell's tires a little bit more. But then on the last lap, I'm sorry for laughing, but I feel bad for Russell, but it's kind of funny. So they're going into the left-handed turn early in the first sector, maybe the early part of the second sector. And the way the turn goes, it kind of goes to the right a little bit before you make a hard left turn, and there's a little bit of a wall sticking out. In fact, Lando Norris said he had actually clipped that wall the lap before, but he ended up being fine. Russell goes into the turn trying to take it wide, trying to get as much speed through it, clips the wall, and just goes straight and misses the turn and goes head on into the wall. He's okay, but he choked. He choked a podium, massively. The last lap of the race, he has the podium in hand. Surely Hamilton won't do anything stupid to throw away the Mercedes podium. And he just goes straight into the wall. And that's terrible for Mercedes and the constructors. They were going to have a great day for the constructor standings as well, even though Ferrari was winning. But because of this, Hamilton's the only point scorer for Mercedes. Ferrari gets a 1-4. He threw it away. I can't believe he did that. But it was a thrilling last 15 laps or so. Watching Carlos Sainz hold off. I mean, once again, geniusly, brilliantly, perfectly defended his win and thoroughly deserved that win. Was on pole, had the speed for it, held off Norris, held off both Mercedes, and did it just right. A genius job by him, a genius race by him. Let's go through the results. We'll talk about everyone's day in this race. We'll talk about the big losers in this race. Red Bull, you bunch of losers. That's a joke. Okay, I get it. They've won a lot, but they lost today, so we get to make fun of them. Carlos Sainz is your winner. It's his second career win. Last year was his first at the British Grand Prix. Today, though, I think he led all but one lap or every lap. He basically led every lap in this race. If he didn't lead a lap, it was because of pit strategy. But it was no easy task holding on to that win. He had to make every corner. He had to drive perfectly. And once again, backing Norris into the DRS zone so that Norris could get the DRS because Sainz had saved his tires. Sainz knew he was better than Norris. And he knew that if Norris had that extra pace, he could maybe hold up Mercedes a couple more laps, or if anything else, really just wear out the tires a little bit more. Well, he ended up doing both. Norris ended up holding on for second place, but what a drive by Sainz. I mean, seriously, probably the best drive of his career. If I had to say, I'm sure others would argue different. Maybe that first podium in Brazil in, 2019? So, but either way, Sainz, fantastic race, perfect race for him. The first non-Red Bull winner of 2023, and it's Ferrari, and it is Carlos Sainz. Great win for him, great win for that team. Great for them in the constructors' standings. They are now within 30 points of Mercedes for second in the standings. I think they were more than 40, 45 points behind, but as I said, with George Russell crashing, that was huge for them. Lando Norris with the second place finish. Great race for him. He ties his career best finish. He's gotten that finish 4 or 5 times now in his career. Great for him and McLaren in terms of their fight for, what are they, 5th in the standings, trying to crawl up. Yeah, they've been obviously improving a lot. They had a terrible start to the season, but they've really picked things up. Norris qualified in the top 5, I want to say. He qualified, I can't remember where, top 6, top 5, somewhere in there. And just drove a great race. He was able to take advantage of some of the strategy calls, had the speed, as I said, qualified well, but were able to hold off the Mercedes cars there at the end, which was huge for him, huge to get those points. And he was in contention for a win again, which is great to see. We had 3 different constructors, 4 different cars within just a couple of seconds. It was a really fun finish there at the end. Third place, Lewis Hamilton. As I said, man, it's almost like a what could have been for Mercedes. They had the speed. They were up front the entire race. They were on the front row with George Russell. Had the tire advantage there at the end, but just couldn't get past Norris, and that ended up costing them. And but a podium's a podium. It's Lewis Hamilton's first podium since the beginning of July back at his home race in Great Britain. So, I'm sure he's happy to be back on the podium, but that both him and Russell desperately want to win this year. Hamilton still has not won since Saudi Arabia back in December of 2021. So that he's hungry for a win. Russell only has 1 win in his career. So Mercedes, that they want to win this year. Was this their best opportunity so far? I would say so, but obviously came up short. Good race for him regardless. 4th place, Charles Leclerc. Good race for him, but Ferrari kind of used him as a sacrificial lamb there. He was up front. They were 1-2 at the beginning of this race, and I kind of thought to myself, like, how are they going to throw this 1-2 away? They didn't. They threw the 2 away, but they still got the 1, so they win. As I said, a great day for them in terms of the constructor standings, with Leclerc holding on to 4th place. It actually was challenged by Max Verstappen there at the end because Verstappen had much fresher tires, but Leclerc was able to hold on to 4th after Russell went straight into the wall. Solid day for him. He did everything he could. Once again, good points day for him. 5th place, Max Verstappen. What an absolute fraud in that Red Bull to finish 5th. Seriously, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner need to fire him. He has done nothing right today. He's an absolute fraud. What a joke of a driver. Get him out of that Red Bull seat. Give it to a real driver like Nikita Mazepin, okay? Seriously, what an absolute fraud. How dare he go on a 10-race win streak and then not even finish on the podium in the first race he loses. Ugh. That's obviously a joke. Yeah, his win streak's over. He had a historic win streak. It's over. Not much else to say. The poor qualifying position really set them up for failure this weekend. And 5th place for them is terrible. but they're still going to win the Constructors' Championship. Max is still going to win the Drivers' Championship. So, I mean, but Red Bull people today, they're wearing this hat. 6th place, Pierre Gasly, solid day for him. Alpine could have had a double points day, but Ocon DNF, which triggered that virtual safety car to get Mercedes the pits for the fresher tires, which made that ending so thrilling. So thank you, Ocon, actually. Thank you. But Gasly, 6th place, solid points day for him. 7th place, Oscar Piastri in his first race at Singapore. Singapore, such a tough track physically, and he was able to get some points. Very good day for him. Double points for McLaren. Very good for them. Yeah, I mean, very impressive drive for him. 8th place, Sergio Perez. I would joke about him losing his Red Bull seat, but it's kind of a possibility, so I won't joke about it. But Perez, I mean, kind of like Verstappen, bad qualifying, sets you up for failure, but they got some points out of it, I guess, so nice. 9th place, Liam Lawson. His 3rd race at the toughest track in F1, or one of the toughest tracks physically because of the heat, the humidity, and he finishes in the points in the AlphaTauri that's been terrible all year. Super impressive drive. He is very deserving of an F1 seat right now, I would say. I know we did a lot last year with De Vries, the guy who used to drive this car. After that one race last year, we said, oh, De Vries, put him in an F1 seat. He scored points on debut. That ended up going very wrong. But this is the 3rd race for Lawson. The first one, there were treacherous conditions in the Netherlands, and he finished that race clean. 2nd race at Monza, once again, kept it clean. And today in Singapore, a super tough track. Physically for the drivers, it's a street circuit, which is another challenge within itself. And he finishes in the points. What a drive by Lawson. I mean, seriously, I think he's probably the favorite maybe to be in one of those AlphaTauri seats next year. It looks like it's down to 3 drivers, Lawson, Tsunoda, and Ricciardo. Right now, I'd say Lawson, very deserving of that seat. 10th place, Kevin Magnussen picks up a point for Haas. Good race for them. They both qualified in the top 10. That race pace just still isn't there, but it was enough to get them a point thanks to George Russell. But still, good race for Magnussen, good race for Haas. They got a point out of it. They got to be happy. 11th place, Albon had an incident in this race. 12th place, Joe Guan Yu. 13th, Nico Hulkenberg. 14th, Logan Sargent was the cause of the one and only safety car in this race. Just drove straight into the wall. It broke the front wing, and he was scattering debris everywhere. They had to throw the caution for the safety car, and he ends up 14th. 15th, Fernando Alonso. Qualified 6th or 7th, and it never really got any better. He was there for a bit, and then they were slow. They were on old tires. They put on new tires. Fernando spun. It was a disaster of a race for Fernando. Disaster of a race for Aston Martin, or weekend. Lance Stroll, he did not race in this race. He crashed in qualifying pretty hard, and as a precaution, they opted not to have him enter into the race. They said he was still sore, still had some, I guess, wasn't just feeling up to the race, and opted to sit him out. They didn't specify an injury, but Lance Stroll was out of this race, so hopefully he's okay to go at Japan next week, but I'm not sure what his status is, but we will see here in a few weeks, or in a week, not a few weeks, in a week. Hopefully Lance Stroll's okay there. 16th, George Russell. Oh my God, man. He's got to be wearing this hat right now. He had a podium in hand. He had it. It was right there for the taking. He actually had a chance at a win, his second career win. And what does he do? He drives straight into a wall. Oh my goodness. I guess they don't put that stat on Wikipedia, Toto. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe he did that. Oh my goodness. That was bad, man. Yeah, your DNFs, Bottas, Ocon, and Tsunoda. Poor Tsunoda. Didn't even make it to the starting grid last week. This week doesn't even make it half a lap. AlphaTauri just dies on him. Poor Yuki. It's nothing of his doing. It's mechanical problems. And, I can't believe Russell did that. But second to last street race of the year. We have one more street race. That's the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which means it's time for self-promotion. If you haven't seen it, I have done a track walk at the beginning of this month at the Las Vegas Grand Prix track. So, well, kind of. For the most part. I mean, most of it's public streets. So, I walked it. But yeah, if you want to go check that out, go check that out. I'll put that link in the description. I can put it in the comments too if you really want. I might do that. But once again, thank you for watching. What a thrilling race. I enjoyed it. One of the best races of the year. The Netherlands just a couple weeks ago, that was another great race. So we've actually had some great races here recently. And for the first time, Verstappen and Red Bull don't win 2023. It's a miracle. It's an actual miracle. I didn't have to hear the Dutch anthem today. Wow, that was weird. The Spanish and Italian anthem, hearing that instead of the Dutch and Austrian. It was nice, though. It was a nice break from the Dutch and Austrian anthem. Thank you guys again for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, night, morning, wherever you are.